What's up, guys? Honey here, bringing you my first impression slash first review of A Wise Man's Grandchild. This is a fantasy anime. The first episode came out today in Funimation. I really don't know much about it right now. I'm only an anime only, but we got the main character Shin, and basically he was a regular human like us. And he lived a regular life and stuff like that until he died in a car crash. Now, the car crash was his fault. He died of stupidity because he was thinking about his life or just walking, and he passed a red light, and a truck that was speeding that had the green light went and hit him, and he died. But he reincarnated as a baby in a fantasy world, and he was adopted by this old man named Merlin. And if you know anything about anybody named Merlin, then you can probably guess where this story is going. But as the story progresses, we get to see him as 8 years old. And he knows a lot of different type of magic. He knows fire, he knows wind, he has enchanted boots, and he's pretty well versed. And he went to go hunt lunch for him and his grandfather, and he was able to kill a boar and 3 chickens. And it was also stated that these creatures are usually powerful creatures, or annoying creatures to catch. So the fact that a little kid like him, only at 8 years old, was able to do this by himself, that shows how great he is in magic. And we get like a 2-year time skip, and we get to see like the grandfather Merlin and him, and we get to see their relationship. We get introduced to 3 characters. His grandmother, which I know I'm gonna butcher her name, so I'm apologize now, but is Melida. I always pronounce it wrong. Medelia. We have her. We have this other guy with a sword who's teaching him swordsmanship. We get to introduce these 2 characters, and he called the old lady Melida. He calls her grandmother, and he calls the other guy uncle. And they also teach him stuff, and they come by once in a while to this house, which their house is somewhere in the woods, deep in the woods. It seems like they're isolated from people. So besides these visitors, it's just usually the kid and his grandfather. And, he told them about what happened, about how he hunted the boar and stuff, and they were impressed but very upset that Merlin let him do this by himself, him being a kid. Then it got worse because the next day, he wanted to teach Shin how to hunt demons. Because one of the plagues in this world, which is what the main story is based off of, is that demons go around entering people, and after they enter them, they start causing chaos and destruction wherever they leave wake. So we get to see this red beast, and Merlin was going to teach Shin how to slay the beast. But Shin ran up to it with his magical boots and sword, and he ran to go fight it. And we got something very interesting, because Shin wasn't just able to beat this creature on his own. We get to see Shin actually use his magic and his swordsman skills at the same time. He had enchanted boots with wind magic that he had from earlier, and he was using them to zip around the battlefields, maneuvering around this beast until he found an opening, and then he took his enchanted sword and he did like this air slash, and he slashed off that creature's head with one shot. And Merlin was like, wow, you actually defeated a demon on your own. And he's still only 8 years old at this time, so it was 10, because this is after the 2-year time skip. And he was very impressed, and then he told this to, the old guy and the swordsman, who I always forget his name. I think they said it like once, but I think his name is Javed, that magical swordsman who's been teaching him swordsmanship, and the grandma. But after that, they was like, wow, he's really, really well versed in advance and magic and swordsmanship. And they're like, yeah, you're right. And then we get another time skip, but this one is actually longer. This one is 5 years, and now he's 15. And in this world, I guess, or maybe just this country, let me not get too far ahead of myself, but so far in this country, we know that once you hit 15, by law, you're an adult. And that's when you can go into your profession, or if you want to go to college or whatever, or not, I wouldn't say college, but I say more like a training or whatever, or institute for like medicine or magic or whatever. You have to be an adult, which is 15. So, they're having a party for him, and we get introduced to more characters. We get introduced to a character named Uncle Dis, which he's dressed like a knight, Christina, and Springfield. And they are in the table with Grandpa and Grandma and the other uncle, the one who taught him swordsmanship, and they are there with Shin, eating, saying, "Congratulations, you're 15, you're a grown man now." And Uncle Dis asks, "Shin, what are you going to do now that you're an adult?" And he was like, "Maybe I might go into the city and try to buy something for once." And he was like, "What do you mean by for once?" And he was like, "Well, I never bought nothing in my life." And they all looked at Grandpa, Merlin, and they was like, "What the heck have you taught this boy?" And he was like, "I didn't really get to teach him manners or the way our world works. I just been teaching him magic. My fault, I'm sorry." And everyone just got mad at him, especially Grandma. It was like, "You taught him magic and how to fight, but you ain't teach him nothing else?" So it's like Shin, what makes this Shin so unique, besides the fact that he's really, really well-rounded in magic and he's very powerful, is the fact that he also has his memories still. And this was told by Shin to his grandfather, when his grandfather was saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I never told you the truth, but you're not really my real grandson. You're my adopted grandson. I found you here," and stuff like that. And that's when he told him the truth. And he's like, "Yeah, I know you never, yeah, you was lying to me, because I actually knew since I was born my memories of my old life. I just don't remember how I died, but I remember mostly everything else." So, and that was like in between the time skips that this discussion was going on. But after everyone started screaming at Grandpa Merlin in the dinner table, Uncle Dis decided to announce that something special that Shin didn't know until now, and that his full name, which I'm not gonna get into it, but he told him his full name, and he says, "I am the king of a nation." And he's like, "Springfield and Christina are actually my bodyguards." We found out Springfield, he's actually a wizard, one of the high council wizard, and Christina's actually a high warrior. So he was like, "What?" And he calls the king uncle, and he calls these two brother and sister. So, and it's funny too, because they hinted that there's like a relationship going on between Springfield and Christina, because it was like Springfield said, "Hey, maybe when you going down there picking up work and whatever, you can probably pick up a girl on the way and show off your magic." And Christina got kind of like upset and jealous, and she's like, "No, only you think that way. You're the only boy here." And we see like that friction between them, but it's not like an angry friction like they hate each other. It's more like a romantic like friction, but they trying to hide it, they like each other. So I have a feeling those two like each other, but just don't want to admit it. They are pretty young, not as young as Shin, our main character, but young enough. Then we go over the idea that the Uncle Dis had, and it was basically to enroll Shin into a magic school. And basically, while he's in this school, he can be protected from kings and stuff, because if people or guards or kings would have realized how powerful Shin is, because he did this demonstrate his power earlier to them, yeah, he's gonna really be wanted by everybody as a soldier. So he was like, you can always hide there in the magic school and just slowly build up a reputation until you find out what you want to do with your life. So he agreed to it. And then we get another discovery. We find out that Merlin and Grandma Mleda, we found out both of them were actually married once in their younger years. And they were very well known as a two-man squad. So, and they both high-level musicians at that. So, not musicians, I'm sorry, magicians. So that's very interesting. And she was like, "But I still got my looks, right?" And when they brought this up, and like no one really, they really ignored her that comment. But she doesn't really look that bad for being an old character, her or Merlin, for that matter. But basically, they took a carriage to this magical city where the school's at, and Grandpa and Grandma was actually gonna stay in the same house with Shin, so he can learn about how to act with people, how to buy things, the school system, their laws and regulations. Things that as an adult he should already know, but thanks to Merlin not teaching him nothing but magic and fighting. So, but as they get to the city, Merlin tells Shin, "Go out and have some fun, here's some money, and let us deal with the house arrangements and talking to our maids and butlers. which we get to see the head maid, the main butler, and the head chef. We get to see all three of them. So, and Shin was like getting kind of like, I wouldn't say ticked off, but he felt kind of uncomfortable. People are calling him master, like because it was it's new to him, so he was like, what? So that's why the grandfather Merlin was like, just chill, go out, have some fun. So he went out and the first thing he bought himself, and all the things he probably could have bought with the money he had, he bought himself an apple. It's the simple things in life that makes things funny, but yeah, he bought an apple and he's eating the apple and he's just walking around town until he gets lost. And he gets lost in an alleyway, and he's having trouble to get out the alleyway, but he hears commotion. And we have these three bulky dudes that look like knights. Oh, not knights, but they look more like bandits. But they say they call themselves knights. And they're hitting on these two young girls, saying we could have some fun, let's go out and party and stuff like that. And we get to see one of the girls. She has long pink hair, but we don't get to see the other one. All we get to see is her hair, because the guy is blocking her. And from, Shin's view, it's kind of hard to see from my angle. But Shin goes up and was like, yo, leave him alone. And they take out their anger of being denied by these ladies on him. And Shin actually ends up one-shotting all three of these dudes. But the last guy he one-shotted took out a knife and tried to stab Shin. But Shin, he palmed him. But when he palmed him and the knife connected with the palm, it's like his palm glue, blew and it broke and shattered the knife while pushing the guy away. So I guess he was using magic. Since we know he can use magic, we're not sure if any other type of energy exists, like Kai or Chakra or Aura or any of those other types that we see in anime, so. But this is a fantasy story, so most likely magic is going to be the only power source here. But after he saves them, the girl with the pink hair, she thanks him and on. He's like, yeah, you're welcome. Then the other girl, they show her and she thanks him. And when he first looked at her, the first thing he looks at was her breast. It's the first thing he looked at, which, in his defense, even though he is a guy, a young one at that, at the same time, her chest was super huge for someone who looks young. She looks like she's probably 15 or 16 herself, so. But he looks up and he's like, oh my god, you're beautiful. And he starts blushing with the eyes hurts and everything. And that was just the ending panel of the episode. And I have to admit, Wise Man Grandchild, it was very interesting. I believe it's supposed to be a 24-series episode. And he's going to come out every Wednesday from now on, so. Which is going to be the same day I release this video, so. And so far I like episode 1, so I'm going to continue to review it until further notice. But, it's very interesting, these characters and the interaction and the fact that our main character, Shin, is a young man who has no knowledge of how this world works or his laws. But though he memorized all the laws and stuff from his old world and stuff, so maybe that might help him out. Even though this war is taking place more of a medieval time, where the word he came from was futuristic Japan, up-to-date Japan, so where he was from. So it's going to be very interesting seeing how he acts with people and how he acts, towards villains and heroes and stuff like that, and all the different titles he's going to be called, and probably all the trouble he's going to go through because he's going to be a adult that doesn't really know anything, sadly, because Murder Man teach him anything better. A couple of questions that I want to know is, one, since he reincarnated over here as a child and he grew up, I'm assuming he's never going to go back to his regular life because, he's died and it's stated he died and reincarnated over here. So, but I wonder if he's going to ever meet somebody that happened to them as well. Because you have to imagine he can't be the first one, right? Maybe there's other people from other worlds that came over here. Or maybe there's people who came from this world and they left this world to go to the other world, maybe, and get a new life. Who knows? That was something that I was thinking about through the whole episode. Like, you can't be the first and only one. There has to be others. And there has to be people who are on the reverse side. People who probably died over here and got transferred over there, but kept their memories, maybe. Just, thinking. I used to review Slime. That time I reincarnated as a slime. I used to review that anime on Mondays when it was out. So, and in that fantasy story, he died and reincarnated as a slime with magical powers in the fantasy world. But he found out that there's 100 people that escaped that fantasy world to go to the human world and back. So maybe we may have something like that found out later on. Or maybe I'm just overlooking it because it's a fantasy series. But so far, yeah, this was a great episode. I enjoyed it. I loved it a lot. Can't wait to see the interactions with these characters. The girl with the blue hair and the pink hair, which we ain't get their name yet, but most likely in episode 2 we will. We see them in not just in the cover art of the first manga volumes, but we see them also in the opening and ending. So most likely they are going to be main characters that we're going to see a lot. I believe we also saw the main villain as well in the opening. It looked like a female, and she had like 2 bodyguards, but they wasn't dressed as knights. They were dressed as the club bouncers, so it was kind of weird. We see some other students as well, so I'm assuming he's gonna eventually be classmates with them. We see Merlin and Melina, so most likely they're going to be teachers in that magic school that Shin's going to be going to. I guess they're gonna reteach him how to use magic again with everyone else, but at the same time try to teach him laws and, control himself and stuff like that. As powerful Shin is, they said he can destroy the balance of the world because he's very powerful. And they haven't seen no one evolve as much as he has, so. But again, this was a great first episode. I loved it a lot, as you can tell. Can't wait for next week. But that's all I have for you guys. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, share with your family and friends. Give this video a like. Follow me on Twitter, link will be down below. Tell me down below in the comments as well. Did you like this episode? Did you not like this episode? What you liked and what you didn't like? For those who have not watched it, please go watch it. Really great first episode. And for those who read the manga, or light novel I should say, because this is a light novel that is turned into an anime. With minimum spoilers if you can. Tell me a little bit about, how this first series is supposed to go. With minimum spoilers if you can. And let's have some fun with this, but that's all I have for you guys. Peace out and have a good one.